Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Justin from Justin and Max Games, and today I'm doing a special two-player review of Embarcadero. Always the question is are these games that say 1 to 5 to 10 players, does it work for two? Because that's primarily what I do in this house. When I can get my son Max, who you might be familiar with, to play games with us. He's 15 now, off on his own world. Well, I'm always thrilled, but most of the time I'm just playing with my wife, and we have a great time. And she backed this game when it came out on Kickstarter. I didn't know anything about it. It came in the mail. The pieces looked impressive. The board looked really cool, and I thought to myself, a game where you're building boats and building, buildings and, improving your section, and there was some area control. Area control is always one of those things that in a two-player game, does it work well or not? Was this game a surprise? It was nothing like what I imagined it to be. It's thinking three-dimensionally. I think Board Game Geek right now doesn't have too many reviews on it, or at least people's ratings on what the level of difficulty. I think they have it a 2.5 out of 5. I'm more in that 3.3 region. It's a medium heavy-ish game on you're having to think ahead. What card are you going to use now? What card are you going to use later? Maybe even next round. Do you have the resources? Are you going to get the resources to build the thing? Now, you got to build a boat. And then once you build the boat, then you got to build structures on that boat in order to build a building with more structures on that boat, and also maintain some control, and then try to move up the council track by playing next to other people. So you're getting in every other, and you kind of want to get in each other's way a little bit. And what are the benefits on the cards that will let you do something later, and make sure that you have enough money to get the cards that you want, or otherwise you're going to kind of lose out. And also there are goals that you have to complete every round, or that you at least try to compete in every round, and area control on these wharfs and so forth. Well, does this work with two players? Well, absolutely. And I'm going to try to get this to at least 3 or maybe even 4. We have the expansion for 5, and it comes with these unsinkable boats that we haven't played with now, these unsinkable ships, and some more buildings. The card management is so unique. I've never seen anything quite like it in another game, where you're buying a card, hoping to use it, and sometimes you might buy a card not for what either you can build it or put it out on the board as a ship. You might just buy it for when you scrap the card, because you could scrap a card rather than playing it, what the scrap ability is. There's a lot of thought that went into this game, and the pieces are really great with these little indents so you can get your structures on them. Was I surprised? I'll say that again. This was a surprising game for me. Nothing at all like I imagined. Does it work for two players? Yes, it does. Does it work as well with more players? I'm sure it probably is more interesting in the way that you're kind of balancing different people doing different things, what opportunities there are to be able to move up on the track because there's more people that are going to be building out on the wharfs. But in two players, it worked just fine. I thought I had control of a wharf, and then suddenly my wife built all the way up to a 4th level building. I'm giving this game right now, for 2 players, I love it. I really love it. I'm going to give it around an 8.5 or maybe even a 9. I haven't played the expansion. Got the unsinkable rules. Loved it the first time. There weren't that many points, and we didn't move very far up on the council track for the first round or so, and I was like, I watched a playthrough of this on TV, on YouTube. What was it? Heavy Cardboard played it, and they had scores like 127 or something, and I was like, ooh, we must be doing really poorly. But by the end, you're maxing things up, and you get some end points, and we were right in that zone of, getting in the hundreds or so. I really like this game. I would, if I'm a two-player, if you're a two-player group primarily, there's no reason not to get it. There's a little disconnect. I mean, the theme is so cool too. That's another thing, as I am a sort of an amateur designer, I'm always looking to create games that have a unique theme, something that's untapped, and resources, building. Well, this is totally unique in the way the buildings work, and the theme itself is, real American history. It's funny, when I think about it. Let me do something really rude. I'm gonna pick up the board. When you look at it like this, you almost think like north-south, but it's actually the opposite, because I think this is supposed to be San Francisco. So it would actually be, the coast. When you think about like the map, I always think of it like, left, right. So that's a little bit disconcerting, or not disconcerting, but just a little thing. The only thing that's a disconnect for me in the game is, well, you have these two things that are in your supply. You have something that looks like a building, and you have a flat tile. Which one is the building? The flat tile is the building. The other part is called a structure. And I know this is getting picky, but I don't know. Maybe call it like the foundation and the building, or something. Like the building's foundation, and then you're placing the building on top. Because, I don't know, that just, it doesn't make too much sense to me that I feel like I'm putting out a building and it says wafer thin. But I'm sure, there's only so many ways that you can try to get a theme and a game that's interesting to fit together. And you'd rather have a good game than maybe, somehow making the theme work exactly with the game. So I think that's a concession that I'm okay with. It's just a little, I'm thinking about, I'm going to try to introduce this to some other players. And, I said like, this thin thing, that is a building. So I'm being too much on that. Nonetheless, really cool game. We also didn't play with the special powers. All of your guys, all of the characters that you play with, they always give you a resource. But the fact that, we didn't play with the side where you get a one-time ability, you get an ongoing ability, and you get an end game bonus. So you could probably get a lot of other points, and maybe it gives you a strategic direction in the game. There's also a lot of ways of getting points in the game. You can try to, build out the wharfs and just maintain control there, building low and just putting out a lot of ships and maintaining control of that. Or you can try to score big buildings that go really high. My wife, she was pretty far behind, and all of a sudden she started building this structure, and building, and then all of a sudden built a 4 and with one of the big buildings. But one of the things that I did that I think gave me advantage is that you could always do this, I think they call it the signature building. If you could buy a card, buying the right card is really the key to the game. If you buy the right card and you have the supplies to build these, including the signature part, you could put out a whole bunch of your structures, which gives you the ability to immediately build on top of that. Wow, I am in love with the game. I said I gave it an 8.5 or 9. We'll see if it goes higher. I just played it once, but I wanted to give you my initial reaction. Love it.